Before the video begins, make sure to watch the whole video for your chance to win a copy of the new DLC, They Came From Salem. Throughout history, there have been rumours and stories of monsters lurking in the dark places of the world. Some hunt for flesh, others for the souls of the innocent, but all have a craving for death and destruction. Yet there are those who stand against these foul creatures and fight to send them back to the abyss. Yet witches, although their existence denied by many, pose a constant and ever-growing threat. While the sculptor poses a very real threat to Louisiana and the rest of America, it is not the only supernatural being to threaten our realm of existence. Creatures such as poltergeists, lure, and demons continually try to break through the invisible barriers between worlds in order to feast on the living. There are even other supernatural entities who fight against such evil, beings such as Lynch, who uses her powers to drive back the ever-encroaching darkness. As the ranks of the American Hunters Association grow, more is revealed about the wider world and the ever-expanding number of vile creatures looking to do harm. Now witch hunters have started to join the AHA in their fight, confirming that witches are indeed real, and perhaps pose more of a threat than we realise. During the 1600s, it is believed that witches were rampant in England and parts of America. Witches had existed and lived in these lands long before this time, but something must have happened during this era to cause the rise in their number. Perhaps England's first major witch trial in 1566, following Henry VIII's Witchcraft Act, which culminated in the execution of Agnes Waterhouse, who was found guilty of murder by witchcraft, caused the rise in the number of witches. Perhaps the execution of a witch allowed the ruinous powers to creep into our world and offer power to those willing to take it. Perhaps the covens predicted this was the first step in the rise of witch hunters, the persecution and execution of their kin. Perhaps they saw the need to increase their numbers and their influence before their inevitable mass persecution. Witches are often seen as evil, vile hags who can commune with the devil, cast curses, and often have a demonic familiar, usually in the form of an animal, such as a cat or crow. Yet there are stories of witches who are opposed to evil, and even use their gifts to cure the sick, mirroring the conflicting ideals between the sculptor and Lynch. Yet to a witch hunter, anyone using ruinous powers and considered guilty of witchcraft, good or ill, would find no mercy. Nearly 100 years after the execution of Agnes Waterhouse, England appoints their first witchfinder general, Matthew Hopkins. During his short tenure of only 3 years, he was responsible for the execution of over 100 witches, more than the previous 100 years combined. Witches were heretics to Christianity, and within continental and Roman law, witchcraft was crimen acceptum, a crime so foul that all normal legal procedures were superseded because the devil was not going to confess. It was necessary to gain a confession from the human involved, which led Matthew Hopkins and other witchfinders to use more extreme measures to gain confessions. Hopkins published a book, The Discovery of Witches, which outlined his witch hunting methods. And after his retirement, his methods of witch finding were implemented in other parts of England and were even adopted by witchfinders in America. His methods were so popular and proven to get results, they continued to be implemented even as late as 1692 during the Salem witch trials. The Salem witch trials saw over 200 people accused of witchcraft, 30 found guilty, with 19 executed by hanging, which consisted of 14 women and 5 men, with one other man, Giles Corey, being pressed to death by heavy stones as he refused to confess. It is believed that 5 other people also died in jail. Whilst the practice of witch-finding in the late 1600s was waning across most of Europe, it is considered the Salem witch trials were a bout of mass hysteria that swept across the New World. Despite this, there were those who believed that spirits, demons and witches were real, and any who denied their existence also denied the existence of angels and of God, the most notable of which was Joseph Glanville. His book, Against Modern Sadism, was written to prove the existence of such entities. Works by Glanville and other men, such as Cotton Mather, were prevalent in proving that the supernatural existed and in hunting it down. Perhaps these men were what inspired the American Hunters Association, or perhaps they were even founding members. Eventually, the fanaticism of witch hunting died, perhaps due to those guilty of sordid pacts with the devil having been found and executed. Perhaps the witches realized their boldness was a mistake, having underestimated the zealotry of the witchfinders. Perhaps witches never existed, and the greed of men led them to manipulate the law and people's faith for financial gain. Yet, the descendants of the Salem witch hunters still follow the creed of the witchfinder. They still give their lives to protect others from the servants of evil. They spend their lives training and in service to a cause greater than themselves. One such witch hunter, Circe Elias. It was her grandmother who revealed the truth to Circe when she was a child. She taught her about their family's history and the duty as witch hunters. She taught her about the sordid tactics used by witches to lure young children into their service in order to wear their skins. She told Circe of their duty to hunt down every witch and persecute them without mercy, to erase every trace of their existence. Circe heard of the trouble in Louisiana and knew her training and skills would be put to good use. She left the New York branch of the AHA, knowing that her legacy lied before her. There is no doubt that witches and beings with supernatural powers exist within the Hunt Showdown world. We have accounts of the voodoo covens using their magic to fight against the sculptor. Louisiana itself has a long history with the occult. Battles for power between witches and voodoo covens have long been a topic of exploration throughout history, as well as in fiction. It would appear that those who hold power are the voodoo practitioners. Marie Laveau, the voodoo queen, has even been referenced in the lore, having written letters to Philip Huff Jones. It is possible Circe's arrival will cause a rift between the AHA and Marie Laveau, as witch hunters are taught to persecute all those who practice occult magics. Or perhaps Circe will have bigger prey to hunt. After all, something wicked this way comes, and it would appear to be an ancient and powerful enemy, something more dangerous than anything Circe has fought before, a witch of unimaginable power. A bounty will be added to the roster for the members of the AHA to hunt, yet none will be prepared for what awaits them in the swamps of the bayou. The introduction of the witch hunters into the lore, coupled with the witch boss from the original concept for the game, Hunt, Horrors of the Gilded Age, leads me to believe the next boss to be revealed will be the witch. I theorize that her abilities will be similar to that of the original boss designs. She would have a flash effect, which would temporarily blind players. In Horrors of the Gilded Age, she uses chains to perform an area of effect ranged attack and is able to teleport. All of these, I believe, would remain. She will likely have additional attacks, in the form of close-range melee, that could inflict a pushback on the player. I don't think she will inflict any status effects with her attacks, beyond the flash, as we already have bleed, poison and burn effect bosses. The witch's obvious weakness would be fire. In regards to her lore, it's possible she is the resurrected witch, Alce Young, the first witch to be tried and executed in America in 1647, who through her pact with the devil has risen again. Perhaps the witch is even more ancient than that. She could be a pre-colonial witch, or a pagan witch, whose origins date back to the Roman Empire. I would like to see the witch's lore and powers not linked directly to the sculptor, but perhaps they have an uneasy truce, and she is using the chaos caused by the sculptor to her own gain. Regardless of her lore or her powers, I am sure we will see the witch make her way to the bayou. Now for your chance to win a copy of the new DLC, They Came From Salem. I am giving away 3 copies of the DLC, regardless of which platform you play on. All you need to do is be subscribed to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment about what you think of my Witch Boss theory. Add your own theory if you wish. I will announce winners by the 19th of March. Until then, I'll see you in the bayou.